Nobody in the UK has been in the business of making rad mountain bikes longer than Pace's Adrian Carter, and he's still making some of the sickest bikes in the world today. And this RC529 is a perfect example of the raddest pensioner in the business. Yoo-hoo! Yes, Adrian! Another beauty!
My name's Guy Kesterman. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 25 years, but I've been riding pace bikes for over 30 years. And today I'm testing the latest hardcore hardtail from the original UK hardcore hardtail brand, the RC529.
So, original hardcore hardtail UK brand. Why am I saying that? Because Adrian Carter has been building radical riding hardtails since the 1980s. And, well, his daughter Sophie now helps with the running of Pace. He's still the chief designer there. And Adrian and Pace still have a massively loyal following too. When I did that white range test up at Dalby Forest, nearly all the bikes I rode past up at Dalby, that's basically where Adrian's based. Pace HQ is just down the road in Thornton to Dale. They were all riding Pace hardtails. And Adrian himself is still a ferocious rider. I mean, I don't know what. How old is Adrian now? He's got to be Jurassic. Him and Kathy, who run Sutton Bikes, Bank Bikes, still absolute legends and still as passionate about creating awesome biking experiences, whether that's through designs like this or through all the events and stuff they do at Sutton Bank Bikes. Absolute icons. Certainly if you're from the UK. But there are way more reasons to buy this bike than just kind of feel-good heritage. And ever since he built those first square extruded aluminium hyper-rigid cross-country bikes, Adrian has not been afraid about getting radical with his design. So she's not a bike that's interested in chicken running the straight bits, as you can see back there. It's all totally confident, even on the steepest drop-in and tight stuff. And that's because, in static terms, measured in my workshop, and Adrian actually lists the numbers sagged, which is fair enough. But to make it easy to compare, it's 64 degrees head angle, 77 degrees seat angle, 497mm reach. And I also think the 529 geometry is a really nice balance. Yes, they've certainly gone radical on the head tube angle and seat tube angle, but that means they can run this really long stable reach without it feeling like a total barge, and keeping those chainstays tucked in means it doesn't feel overly floppy and saggy, and it's just a proper handful on tight stuff like the On One Hello Dave can. Plus that 140 150mm fork, I'm running 150 today, but you can run it 140, you can run it 130 or 160 if you want, but it's not going to handle as intended. And beyond that, your warranty is in question. Anyway, you know, that's the classic trail bike sweet spot at the moment. That means you can go lighter with something like a Pike or a 34, or go heavier duty like a 36, like I've got in today, or a Lyric. And Pace will do your builds based around either of those folds. And in terms of the spec, I would say it's an absolute classic UK hardtail build, but with some nice modern twists. So you've got Shimano XT on the stop and go. You've got Hope seat clamp and these Fortus 30 wheels, which are pretty much indestructible with these Pro 5 hubs. Although, to be fair, it does feel a lot like you've come for a run in your work boots, because they are pretty solid and sturdy in feel. So if you want something livelier, they do a full range of hunt options as well. But to keep things modern and enduro, you've also got Bergtech saddle, bars, grips and rear axle. And then you've got the super reliable bike yoke dropper post, and the seat tubes are really short on these 529s as well, so you've got loads of potential to get a really long stroke in there. And then backing up the bomb-proof nature of those Hope wheels, you've got Michelin all mountain wild gripper tyres on there as well, so proper sturdy enduro rubber. I mean, to be fair, they roll okay, but similar to the wheels, they're quite a thumping proposition when you start clouting stuff hard and fast. But then the last thing you want is a fragile rear wheel and rear tyre on a hardtail, especially one that rides as radically as this. And because Space are a really small family business, they can do that custom build thing really, really well. I mean, they offer frame only, they offer rolling chassis. Oh, I forgot to say, it's a Pace's own super short stem, which, you know, again, shows you they know all about rad geometry. And this bike really bloody loves the super steeps. Oh, the geometry is perfect for this kind of caper. Whoop. Maybe that wasn't the correct line, but 529 didn't care. In it drops straight away, beautifully centered. Got that 150 fork on the front, and just brilliantly poised and positioned to handle that kind of riding. So, while it's not quite as radical as the stiff squatch, and yes folks, that build is coming soon, and I haven't templated all the potential competition numbers, it's a lot longer, slacker, and well, certainly steeper in the seat angle than the Kotick Beefy Max, which is the nearest Kotick equivalent. And it just feels not just super planted in the seat stuff, but also more bike parky, flowy stuff like this. Yes, and it's proper muscular as well. The days of steel being some twangy kind of anemic, poetic kind of material are well behind it. This is robust street poetry now. It's an 853 tube set, and there's some beautifully detailing, and the head tube around the BB gets an ISCG mount. It'll take 2.5 inch 29er tyres as standard, and pretty much unique in this category, it's also got fully adjustable modular slide out dropouts, so you can run it single speed, hub gear, standard gear, Oh, there's a T-type replacement dropout option coming too. And the key to getting that really short rear end, but with that steeper seat angle. Oh, by the way, there's parking coming in at Stainburn now. Machine's still got its condom on, but looks like you'll have to put your pennies in your pocket in future up here. And chatting to Adrian, I mean, there's going to be a full interview with Adrian about this bike and the 429, which I'll also be reviewing. They're shorter travel, kind of do it all rounder. What they call their unicorn bike. That's one of the hardest bits, is getting that custom seat tube right. But even up bits like that, where I fluff it and clip the pedal, it's still got a really nice flowing up over those roots to keep the momentum going. And that's kind of the reason you'd go for steel, is that ride feel. So while it's definitely a muscular bike, it's still got that real compliance and grip on, you know, rooty, techie climbs like this. And because seat angle, you're naturally in exactly the right place to keep poise on climbs like this without having to shuffle around too much, and yet still got that super quick steering front end to twitch you through little loggy sections like that. Oh, and for ease of servicing, everything but the dropper is internally routed. That obviously disappears into the seat tube and gets a neat little plastic shroud on the entry point to keep things clean. And that's something that is a real bonus with hardtails, especially in a winter like we've just had here, where it's just been relentlessly boggy and horrible. Not only are these frames fully corrosion proofed and beautifully painted with a clear lacquer on top, but also just a hell of a lot easier to clean. And there's obviously no pivots to worry about either. So they're just bikes that are always ready to go. So again, that's where that Shimano spec and these Hope wheels really make sense. And for the record, that build on a large frame comes in at 14.5 kilos. But like I say, you could easily get a kilo out of that just with different wheels and tyres before you even started looking at different chain sets and stuff. But it still feels really alive on the climbs, not least, I don't know if you noticed if I turned in there, even though it's a hell of a long reach, 497mm, as I said, it's got a super short back end at 430mm, so it really pivots in. It's kind of like a geometrical mullet bike, even though it's a twin 29 as standard. And well, it's got a short stem, which means front end tends to move around a lot on these steep climbs. That steep 77-degree sagged, although it won't be sagged at the moment, seat angle, which puts you in a perfect position for clawing up little vert crux move climbs like that. So, not the lightest, but in terms of hardtails, but a super tenacious technical climber. And those Michelins aren't hurting in that department either. And while you have got that super long slack front end stability for the steeps, because you've got that short rear end, it doesn't mind being whipped and hipped around on the tight stuff either. So that super short pace stem coming in handy there, getting these big Vertec ride wide bars leaned in so those Michelins can properly bite and get a groove on. And I just love the fact that Adrian is still so totally committed to getting his bikes so right. You know, I know it drives Kathy and Sophie mad how long he takes bringing his bikes to market. I mean, there was an e-bike planned for a long time and, you know, got a long way into development. You know, I've seen him riding it, but, you know, that's shelved at the moment because he can't quite get it exactly as he wants it. And this bike, you know, took a long time to come out in the original 529. And there's still the 627, the 27.5 bike. And you can run this mullet if you want. It'll take a 2.8 in the back if you want a 27.5 rear end. But I just love the fact that after all this time, he's still building super radical bikes like this. He hasn't just, you know, leaned into the kind of heritage aspect. And I have to say, this steel back end, that bit of compliance in the chrome ollie really does give you excellent traction for hardtail, at least over roots. And also it's been really nice. I hadn't realised how long it is since I've ridden a hardtail, so my skills are definitely rusty. It's great to have something that really lets you key into the trail for that ultimate reward. But in this bike, certainly doesn't punish you. I mean, hardtails, you know, they're a tougher ride, certainly at high speeds or on jankier terrain than a full suspension bike. And I'm by no means an expert, although proportionately I've spent more time riding hardtails in my life than I have full suspension bikes. You know, for all round ease and speed, definitely look at Pace's RC529 carbon full suspension trail bike, which has been my long term for years now, as you know if you're a channel regular. But what you've got to remember, although, you know, 14.5 kilos might seem heavy for a hardtail, A, it's not, it's a decent weight, even with a chunky wheel and tyre spec on, but it's a lot lighter than most full suspension bikes with this kind of geometry, and a lot more affordable as well. Plus, if eco-sensitivity is on your agenda, then there are a lot less energy and pollution to produce, even if you're getting them done in the Far East. But I know Adrian's planning to get as much production back into Europe as possible, so that might happen with future 529s. And then, of course, as soon as you get onto a hard climb like this, it doesn't get more efficient than a hardtail, does it? So you've got that direct pedaling. You don't have to worry about your suspension settings or leaving your lockout on for descents. It's just a proper all seasons, all reasons bike is this RC529. So there you go, Pace RC529. An incredible heritage and level of experience in designing rad mountain bikes, distilled into a classic custom Reynolds 853 tube set with, you know, I guess an iconic UK trail build if we're going to continue with the cliches. But what really, really vibes on this bike is that totally cutting edge geometry. Not super crazy radical, so you're hitting your feet on the floor or the back end's all over the place, but with incredible stability, as you've seen. And you know, in the steepest, slipperiest, snakiest, super technical trails, which is where I always think a hardtail will really excel. Especially, you know, when you've got these clean classic steel lines that are super easy to clean. You don't have to worry about pivot bearings or anything like this. This is a proper hardcore bike in every sense of the way. And it's beautifully built as well. Really nice detailing, not least that super versatile and pretty much unique slide out rear drop out there, which, you know, you can do micro geometry adjusts, but mainly you've got full transmission versatility on there. And I mean, from like the latest SRAM to the most archaic single speed or fixie setup you could want, but all in a bike that looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, proper classy with a capital K, as they say around here, but is in every bit of geometry and the ride feel totally modern. And, you know, look at where I've been riding today. These trails have changed so much since I used to come up here on my RC200. Never had an RC100, always wanted one, never had one. So my first bike was an RC200, which I rode as a single speed. And I used to come up here and batter around on the cross-country stuff, but I mean, it changed so much what we're riding now. And I'm not going to say, you know, hardtails are an acquired taste. They need a certain amount of skill, certainly to ride them hard on rocky terrain or jumps and stuff like that, you know. But having that premium Reynolds 853 tube set with those slim rear stays does mean it's a lot more forgiving than a similarly tough, radical angled alloy or carbon hardtail is likely to be. So, you know, and also, while we're on it, although this is a Taiwanese frame, it's not one of the new Ford Czechoslovakia-made frames. That's the 429, and I will be reviewing that. That's the sort of classic all-rounder, because this does come with rack mounts on the rear. I don't think I pointed that out. But the 429 is like a fully bike-packing ready bike, or a short travel cross-country bike. And it's not just different geometry on the same frame. It's a very, very different frame. So make sure you watch that video. Make sure you watch the interview I've got coming up with Adrian and Sophie. And we're going to talk all about pace cycles, a bit of history. But I imagine Adrian's going to want to talk about all the modern stuff. Because, I mean, he is still an absolute pinner. I'm going to use the joke pinchiner, which I coined with Jim from Pin TV. But he is, you know, he should have retired years ago. But he's still one of the most rad and enthusiastic riders I know. He's an absolute tonic, is Adrian. So absolutely watch that one. And click for notifications, subscribe, like it if you did like it. I mean, I presume if you've got to here, you have liked it. And tell your mates about the channel, because I'm going to carry on doing this regardless. But if you can spare a few quid a month, then if you join my Patreon subscribers, that really, really helps with the long-term sustainability of the channel. And they get early, extended and ad-free edits as a thank you. So it's just me wittering on rather than somebody trying to sell you some insurance. Or it's probably Saga. They see my face on a thumbnail. They're probably trying to sell you baths with the door in the side or something like that. But anyway, yeah. If you, and the names of those excellent Patreon subscribers are scrolling up now, if I remember. And a massive thanks, as always, to my regular channel sponsors, who I will put in a deck at the end of the video. And by the time this is out, we might even have some fresh folks on board. So, massive thanks to Lazine for joining the deck with support for pumps and tools. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on Guy Kest TV, having new age fun with a vintage feel aboard the absolutely awesome Pace RC529.